True character never reveals itself in moments of comfort. Comfort is predictable, it is easy, it flatters the ego and keeps emotions calm, so anyone can appear kind, patient, or understanding when nothing is challenging them. That's why comfort is a poor measure of who a person truly is. If you really want to understand a woman's nature, observe her when the situation becomes inconvenient, when the answer she receives is not the one she expected, or when life suddenly interrupts her plans. Those small moments of friction, those sudden emotional shifts, this is where her inner framework becomes visible. People often believe character is something that can be measured over long periods of time, but psychology repeatedly shows the opposite. Identity is revealed in micro-reactions. The first 5 seconds after disappointment, the pause before responding, the instinctive expression that appears before she edits it, these moments tell you more about her than weeks of pleasant conversations ever could. Because in pressure, the ego has no time to disguise itself, authenticity leaks out. If she can stay composed when emotions rise, it shows emotional discipline. If she can listen before reacting, it shows maturity. If she treats you with respect even when she disagrees, that is integrity. And if she maintains dignity when she feels challenged, that is real strength. Not the loud kind, not the dramatic kind. The kind that comes from a centered, stable mind. So watch the small disruptions. Watch how she behaves when she feels unheard or uncomfortable, not because you are testing her, but because human behavior is most honest when it is least prepared. That is where character lives, quiet, subtle, and unmistakably real. And remember this, *** character is not created under pressure. It is exposed by it. ***, a woman's emotional reaction is one of the most revealing windows into her character because emotions are immediate. They don't wait for strategy, they don't pause for image management. They appear in raw form before the mind has the chance to polish them. That's why psychologists often say that our first reaction is instinct, but our second reaction is character. When a woman is confronted with something unexpected, a disagreement, a boundary, a truth she didn't want to hear, her initial emotional response exposes what lies beneath her practiced behavior. You'll notice that words can be rehearsed, but reactions cannot. Anyone can speak about patience, kindness, or emotional intelligence, but the authenticity of those traits becomes clear the moment she feels disappointed or challenged. Does she raise her voice, or does she gather herself? Does she attack, or does she try to understand? Does she let anger take the lead, or does she choose clarity over chaos? These are the questions that define her, not in theory, but in practice. This is not about perfection. No one reacts ideally every time, but patterns matter. A woman with emotional depth understands that her reaction is a reflection of her inner world, not the external situation. She learns to regulate instead of explode, to listen instead of defend, to pause instead of punish. That shows you a mind that has worked on itself, a heart that has learned discipline, a soul that chooses growth over impulse. And remember, emotional reactions aren't just about how she treats you. They reveal how she treats herself. A woman who respects her own inner peace naturally extends that respect outward. A woman who feels secure inside doesn't create storms outside. Her emotional language becomes a mirror of her stability. In the end, the truth is simple. ***, your words tell who you wish to be, but your reactions reveal who you truly are. ***, respect, loyalty, and maturity are never revealed in the moments we plan. They show themselves in the moments that interrupt those plans. A woman can speak beautifully about values, about standing by someone, about being understanding. But the real test of these traits emerges when she is placed in a situation that doesn't align with her expectations. When something is inconvenient for her, when she feels misunderstood, when her emotional needs are not instantly met, in those moments, her behavior tells you everything you need to know about the depth of her character. Respect is especially clear under pressure. It's easy to be respectful when the conversation is pleasant, but genuine respect appears when disagreements rise. Does she still choose considerate language? Does she maintain composure? Does she hold space for your perspective even if she dislikes it? Respect is not about agreeing. It's about how she treats you while disagreeing. Loyalty is revealed in discomfort. It's not measured by how she behaves when everything is smooth, but by how she reacts when the connection feels temporarily uncertain or emotionally heavy. A loyal woman doesn't withdraw to punish, doesn't distance to manipulate, and doesn't abandon commitment at the first sign of friction. She leans in, she tries to understand, she communicates instead of disappearing. Her loyalty is grounded in principle, not convenience, and maturity is the glue that ties these qualities together. Emotional maturity means choosing response over reaction, clarity over chaos, and responsibility over blame. It means understanding that relationships require effort even when emotions run high. It's the ability to regulate, reflect, and rise above the ego's impulse to win the moment rather than protect the connection. In truth, you understand a woman's values not by listening to what she promises, but by watching how she behaves when life becomes slightly uncomfortable. Because the real test is simple, anyone can love when it's easy. Character shows who stays graceful when it's not. A woman who can stay grounded when she's disappointed or emotionally triggered reveals a level of inner stability that cannot be faked. Emotional steadiness is not silence, nor is it suppression. It is the ability to feel deeply without letting those feelings hijack her integrity. This is where you see the difference between emotional reaction and emotional intelligence. Anyone can lose control when tension rises. But a woman who has done the inner work knows how to anchor herself, even when the moment feels overwhelming. Staying composed doesn't mean she doesn't feel hurt or frustrated. It simply means she refuses to let temporary emotions create permanent damage. She understands the psychology behind impulsive reactions, how the brain can distort reality under stress, how anger can exaggerate, and how disappointment can make people assume the worst. Instead of feeding those impulses, she pauses, she thinks, she chooses her response with intention, not ego. That is emotional discipline. And notice something important. A grounded woman doesn't use emotional intensity as a weapon or as a performance. She doesn't shout to prove a point, nor does she use silence to punish. She communicates with clarity because she values resolution more than dramatics. Her strength is calm, not chaos. This ability to remain steady in the storm reflects a mind that understands itself. Philosophically, it shows a person who knows the difference between reacting to protect the ego and responding to preserve the relationship. Psychologically, it shows she has developed emotional regulation, a skill that separates someone who is ruled by feelings from someone who can guide them. When a woman can stay centered while facing emotional turbulence, she is showing you the truth of her maturity, her self-awareness, and her depth. Because at the end of the day, the strongest women are not the loudest. They are the ones who remain rooted in who they are, even when everything around them tries to shake them. Convenience has a way of disguising itself as emotional honesty, which is why many people misread character when life is smooth and predictable. When everything is comfortable, anyone can appear committed, thoughtful, and emotionally available. But the moment life becomes inconvenient, when patience is required, when sacrifice is needed, when the situation demands flexibility, that's when the truth steps forward. That's when you see whether her behavior is rooted in genuine character or simply in circumstances that work in her favor. Watch how she acts when the dynamic shifts slightly out of her comfort zone. Does she still show up with the same warmth, or does her attention disappear the moment she has nothing to gain? Does she remain consistent when she isn't in the spotlight, or does she become distant when the energy isn't centered around her needs? These subtle moments are meaningful because they strip away performance and reveal who she is beneath the surface. People often assume loyalty and kindness are big, dramatic gestures, but most of the time they are expressed in small, consistent actions. The willingness to listen even when tired, the patience to communicate instead of reacting out of frustration, the effort to stay present when it would be easier to walk away emotionally, these are not things convenience can sustain, only genuine character can. And it's important to understand that convenience-driven behavior is not inherently malicious. It's simply shallow, it lacks depth, it lacks intention, it lacks the emotional maturity required to remain stable when situations are no longer ideal. When someone's actions shift dramatically based on what they get in return, you're not seeing loyalty. You're seeing conditional participation, because real character doesn't bend with circumstances, it reveals itself through them. And the truth is this, asterisk consistency is the signature of authenticity, and inconsistency is the loudest confession of convenience. Asterisk character isn't revealed through flawless behavior, it's revealed through emotional intelligence that remains steady over time. A woman doesn't need to be perfect to show depth. She simply needs to be consistent in how she manages her inner world. You can tell a great deal about her by how she handles her own emotions, not just how she handles the situation. Does she process before reacting, or does she allow her impulses to dictate the moment? Does she seek understanding, or does she seek control? These tendencies reveal the architecture of her emotional maturity. It's easy to appear wise when life is predictable, but true emotional intelligence is tested in real time when emotions rise and ego tries to take the wheel. A woman who has worked on herself does not let temporary feelings create permanent consequences. She knows the psychology behind triggers, the way the mind can misinterpret under stress, and she chooses patience over immediate gratification. This ability, this quiet discipline, is what separates genuine character from emotional volatility. What's even more telling is how she treats others when she is hurting. Some people weaponize their emotions, using anger to punish or silence to manipulate. But a woman with emotional integrity doesn't need these tools. She communicates honestly but respectfully. She expresses her hurt without destroying the other person in the process. Her emotional intelligence is not just about how she handles her own discomfort, it's also about how safe she makes others feel in the middle of it. Over time, you'll see that emotional intelligence creates a stable pattern, not perfection, not flawlessness, but a repeated effort to rise above ego and choose clarity. That consistency is what makes her trustworthy. Not grand promises, not dramatic declarations, just steady, intentional behavior, and the truth is simple. Asterisk, a woman's real strength isn't in what she feels. It's in how she chooses to respond to what she feels. Asterisk.